Teamwork law number 16. The law of high morale. The law of high morale says, when you're winning, nothing hurts. Okay, audience, got to ask you a question. Going to come down, let's talk a little bit. Here's the question. Think about this now for a moment. This is kind of like a chicken or the egg question. Which comes first to a winning team? Or to a team, not to a winning team. Just which comes first to a team? High morale or winning? Now think about it. I'm not saying you're wrong. Just think about it. High morale. Does high morale come before winning? Or does winning come before high morale? It's a pretty good question, isn't it? All right, let's take a poll. And you got to vote. Don't do this, I'm praying about it. Okay? How many of you believe that high morale comes before winning on the team? Raise your hand. Good, good. How many of you believe that winning comes before high morale? Good. Evenly split. Conclusion? Don't have a clue. It's a fun question. It's a tough question. I'm not even really sure there's an answer. But let me walk you through it for a moment. Here's what I know. When you are winning, high morale is automatic. Is that not true? I mean, I've never seen a winning team with low morale. I mean, you don't go to a team that's just scoring victory after victory, sale after sale, profit growing up, customers. You don't go to a winning team and have to pick them up. I mean, oh man, I'm telling you, this is tough to win. Man, I tell you, this winning is wearing me out. It's these profits and these victories and these new customers. Oh my goodness. Oh, man, this has got to stop. Close the door. We can't handle any more success. But let me tell you also what I know. I've never seen an organization that continually lost that had high morale. In fact, when you're winning, nothing hurts. When you're losing, everything hurts. Isn't that true? Now, so you go to your team. How do you get your players to play above their heads? By lifting their morale. So therefore, as a leader, if this is my team right here, and they haven't been winning, the way to start winning is by lifting morale. If I lift their morale, I lift their expectations, I lift their hopes, I lift their energy. If I can lift their morale, that's how I get them to start winning. And once I get them to start winning, then high morale becomes automatic. Here's what I know. If a losing team is truly losing, you have to lift their spirits to get them to believe in themselves, to believe in their team members, in order for their morale to get to the place where they get into what I call a state of readiness for victory. Now, what I also know is if you can go and develop and train the skills of your people. I want you to realize to develop a winning team, you've got the reason the high morale winning question is one requires skills and the other requires attitude. And you want to do both. So what you want to do, the real answer to the question is you want to do both. You want to lift the skills so your people win, but you also want to lift the morale so that they are ready to win. Here's what I know. If you lift the skills so that they can win and you don't lift the morale, you haven't started winning yet, but you lift the skills, you train and develop people, but you don't lift the morale, you don't have your team in a state of readiness to win. If you lift the morale, what happens is they'll win a little bit sooner because they're getting ready and they're getting prepared. Every leader understands that his or her ability to raise the morale of the team will to a great extent determine the team's success. Okay, let's talk about high morale. There are 5 reasons why a team needs high morale. Number 1, high morale is the great exaggerator. As I said just a moment ago, when you're winning, nothing hurts. When you're losing, everything hurts. Now, do you notice the exaggeration of morale? It either makes you bigger than life or smaller than life. It makes you over the top or under the heat. When you're winning and when your morale is high, people think, if you're the leader, people think that you're better than you really are. Do you realize that? And when you're winning, people think the team is better than it is. It's a great example. When you're losing, you know what? If you're the leader and your team just keeps losing, you're 0 for 86. The people think you're worse than you really are. In fact, haven't you been? I've been in situations where, we lost a few, and the people said, boy, John's a lousy leader. And there have been times when I want to stand up and say, folks, I'm bad, but I'm not that bad. And when you're winning, you could almost stand up and say, I'm good, but I'm not that good. It has the tendency to exaggerate. You see, when you're winning, you look at potential. When you're losing, you look at problems. When you're winning, you look at people that are committed. When you're winning, people get committed. When you're losing, people get uncommitted or unconnected real quick. When you're winning, you attract people. When you're losing, nobody wants to be on the team. High morale is the great exaggerator. It literally lifts everybody up higher than what they really are. Secondly, high morale is the great energizer. People with high morale have energy. High morale in your company is like loosing the Energizer bunny. Just kind of going up and down the hallways of your organization. When there is low morale, there's low energy. In fact, you show me an organization that isn't winning and has low morale, and I'll show you a company whose expector has expired. Number 3, high morale is the great elevator. It lifts people. It allows people, we've heard this expression many times, to play over their heads. Now, when a commentator is talking about a ball team and he said, oh my goodness, they're playing way over their heads. Now what does that mean? Does that mean that they've climbed a ladder and they're playing way up above their heads? No. What it means is they're playing on a level that they truly don't have the ability to sustain play on. They have been lifted. And high morale elevates and lifts people to a higher level. I'm going to give you, let me just take a time out here and tell the story. Let me give you a classic illustration of high morale or low morale. When I lived in San Diego, every year we went to the Holiday Bowl. That's a bowl during the end of the year in December, and a couple college teams come out and they play the bowl. And so myself and 3 of my buddies, every year we went to the Holiday Bowl. It was just kind of a tradition. We go out to eat, go to the Holiday Bowl, have a great time. Okay. We're at the Holiday Bowl, I don't know, probably about 10 years ago now. And the game, for San Diego, it's an unusually cold night. Usually San Diego is very nice, but it was a nice, moderate temperature. But this night it's kind of cold. It's just not a nice, good night. And the game is boring. And we're in the 3rd quarter, and I looked at my buddies, and I said, this is a boring game. And I said, look at people. And I mean, people were disinterested. They're talking to each other. But I mean, there's not any kind of energy in this game. And I didn't think at that time that I was going to do anything about it, but I just noticed that there was a major kind of a pathetic disinterest in the game. And about that time, I looked down in our area, down at the bottom of our area, and there was a guy there, an old fellow that was a San Diego kind of standard, who always sold newspapers at all the games. An old fella, and everybody loved him, and people bought his. He'd go around and he'd sell newspapers during the game. And I saw him down there, and it was a cold night, and he had a lot of newspapers. He wasn't doing good. So I looked at my buddies, and I said, I'm going to make this guy's night. So I said, come on up here. And so he came up there, and he had 20 newspapers or whatever. He had some newspapers. And so I looked at him, and he said, you want a newspaper? I said, and so he started sending one down. I said, no. I said, I want all of your newspapers. I said, it's a cold night. Go home. Give me all your newspapers. I'll pay for them. And so he looked at me and said, you want all the newspapers? I said, yeah, I want all the newspapers. So he set them all down, and I gave him some money. And you know, he's kind of talking to himself. He's walking away. And I tell my buddies, and I said, now, if he's smart, he won't go home. If he's smart, he'll go down to wherever he gets his newspapers and say to them, I found a guy who bought all of my newspapers. I said, if he has any business savvy, he won't go home. He'll come back and see if this fish will bite again. And in the meantime, while he's gone, the guy said, what are you going to do with the newspapers? I said, well, it's obviously a boring game, so I said, let's pass them out. So I stood up and I said, I bought a whole bunch of newspapers, and I said, it's a boring game, so if you'll tell me what section of the paper you'd like, we'll pass out newspapers. And so I said, I want the sports sections, and I want the business section, I want the life section, I want the front. So we started passing out sections of the newspaper. So we got about 50 or 60 people with a newspaper now. And sure enough, I just get them passing the newspaper out, getting it all taken care of, and the guy is standing below again with a stack of newspapers. And he's just looking up at me. So I looked at him, I said, come on up, come on up. Man, he's got a spring in his step. He's coming up there and looks at me kind of like, would you do this again? I said, give me all of your newspapers. And the guy gets the newspapers. I send him the money down. I mean, now by this time, not only is our section of the stadium watching, but we have two sections watching around it. I mean, again, the game is boring. You might as well watch where the action is. Now I get the newspapers. Now everybody knows what I'm going to do. The guy takes off. I'm now passing out the newspapers again. We're not only filling out our section, but now the sections of the paper are going to the section beside us and the section around us. And people are yelling, thanks a lot. I didn't get to read it before I left home today. You know what I mean? And so we're passing out the newspapers, we're just having a wonderful time. And I looked at my buddies and I said, if the guy is smart, you know, you need to ride this horse as far as it'll take you. You know. Keep coming until the man says bankrupt. I said, if he's smart, he won't go home. He'll go down and say, you will not believe this. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, here he is, stack of newspapers, and he's not only looking at me, 1,000 people are. Well, I'm not going to disappoint the boy. I said, come on up. He's coming out, and while he's coming down, everybody's cheering. Everybody patting him on the back. Attaboy, attaboy. Bankrupt the stupid man. Bankrupt the stupid man. He gets to the end of my row, looks at me. Do you want them all? I said, send them down. I reach into my pocket. The guy at the end of the row says, wait a minute. You've had enough fun. He said, it's my turn. I'll buy the newspaper. He reaches in, he pays the guy. Now we have community. We have a team. We've got a team going now. I mean, we're sharing expenses. We're in this baby together. He's passing out newspapers. I mean, now we've got 3 sections involved in reading newspapers. We're the happiest place in the stadium. It's a boring game. All the cameramen are shooting at our section. We have players looking up to our section, trying to figure what are they so happy? Where did all those newspapers come from? Just about that time, I mean, we have morale at an all-time high. I'm talking to some guys beside me. I turn around, and when I turn around, right in front of me, standing, is a peanut vendor. He has his basket loaded I'm not talking about 5 bags. I'm not talking about 10 bags. I'm saying, oh, there could have been 100 bags in this baby. And he looks at me and he just stands there and smiles real big. And I look at him and I said, I suppose. You've been watching what's happening and I suppose you want me to buy all these peanuts. He said, no. He said, do you see that guy standing up over there at the next section? And I looked over there and there's a guy standing up and he's kind of giving me thumbs up and waving. I said, well, yeah, I see him. He said, he bought the peanuts. He sent me over and said, that guy knows what to do with peanuts. And he poured peanuts. What do you do with 100 bags of peanuts? You give them to the people that are reading the newspapers. We're passing bags of peanuts. Now, we are truly community. We are laughing together. We're on first name basis. We're passing out addresses and phone numbers. We're swapping business deals. I mean, we have it cooking now. The fourth quarter, we never watched the fourth quarter. We ate peanuts. We read newspapers. We talked. We shared. About 8 minutes before the game was over, I said, boys, it's time to go. We get up, and when we get up, 3 sections of the stadium stand up and give us a standing ovation, and we high-fived ourselves completely out of the stadium. Classic picture of high morale. And what people will do when you as a leader lift the tide of morale for your team. Now, just 2 more thoughts. I had so much fun telling the story, I need to teach a lesson. Hate it when lessons get in the way of good stories. Number 4, high morale is the great eliminator. High morale will eliminate problems quicker than strategic thinking. High morale lifts you many times above the pettiness, the politics, and the problems of the team. And finally, number 5, high morale is the great emancipator. It'll set you free. It releases you to ask questions. It releases you to take risk. It releases you to reach your potential. Now, one last thing I say about this law before I teach the final one, because this is important. There's a very common mistake that teams make when they get the morale high. And I see this constantly. I see it in the government. I see this in the academic field. I see it in the business field. I see it in the church world. There's a common mistake made once you get that morale lifted up pretty high and people are going at a pretty good pace. And here's the mistake that I find. It's very common. The common mistake is this. There's a tendency when morale is high to ease up on the pressure and the momentum. There's a tendency to want to ride the momentum instead of make more momentum. There's a tendency to say, man, things are going so good. I don't even hardly have to touch it right now and the company's growing. And look at the profits and my goodness, the people are coming early. And there's a tendency for you to sit back and enjoy the momentum instead of make more momentum. Now let me just say what you need to do. Once you get the ball rolling, keep it rolling. Never let it stop. You work hardest when the momentum is the highest. They say, oh, John, I mean, things are kind of carrying their own. Shouldn't I, this is the time to take it easy? No. Let me tell you can I tell you the time to rest and take it easy? When you don't have any momentum. The train stopped. It's the safest time to get off. That's when you rest. Take a breather. Say, we weren't going anywhere anyway. I'll take a vacation. Nothing's happening. And during that time of resting, think. What stopped the momentum? Start problem solving. How do I get the momentum going? But once you have the big mo going, keep pushing it. Because that's going to give you the highest return and results.